I cannot believe I actually got you guys to be quiet for so long. Like, I am legitimately shocked. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fateful Staging Live. I've got a very full panel tonight to talk about some really serious topic discussion. We've got some really, would you say, dark subject matter?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I guess.
it's a,
Definition.
it's a little twisted for sure. Ryan is joining me. We're gonna get into the leaked documents from the Watchtower here shortly.
Howdy.
Yeah, I'm gonna introduce everybody, and then we're gonna jump right into this thing. Also joining us is Luna.
Hey,
You might remember her from a couple of weeks ago. We did a little
hey.
live
This
stream,
is
and
the one and only.
it got a little intense. I'm not gonna lie.
It was
And
like I was on drugs or something, but not.
we don't endorse drug use here at Faithful Slave. Uh,
Not at all.
Now
We're
moving
just,
on
we're
to
substituting.
we've also got the lovely Maggie, which you may have seen her from the Vast Apostate Hour. I was able to snag her from those guys, and this tonight I'm hoping is going to feel a little bit like the VAH. But you know, Neil, he's been so busy writing his book that that he hasn't been able to do an episode very recently. But from what I understand, they will be back, and they will be back soon. Maggie, how you been?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing well. By the way, she's the Apostate Family on YouTube, so just going ahead and plugging her channel. Guys,
Word.
the internet
Yay.
is on fire right now. We have so much shit hitting the fan with the Watchtower. All these documents just happen to leak onto the internet. I don't know much about it, but Ryan is going to be talking about it because he's actually read the damn thing. Ryan, do you want to, before we get into that, do you want to say a little bit about yourself, man? Introduce yourself. Where you from? What do you do?
Yeah. So I was born in Miami. Then I was living in Atlanta, or as the kids call it, Hotlanta, because I'm hip with it. And
Hot.
now I moved back to Jacksonville. Hotlanta. It sounds like Atlanta, but there's a hot there because of the given heat.
Oh,
So
okay. All
anyway,
right.
so I moved back here. No, so I was born and raised a bunch of different denominations of Christianity, and then I ended up becoming a baptized Jehovah's Witness in 20. What year was it? What?
It was 2014.
2014, May 2014.
Wrong.
And
Wrong. I was wrong. It was 2016.
2016.
Get your
Yeah.
story straight,
So anyway.
Luna.
So anyway, I was in it for a while, became baptized, and then quickly, afterwards realized, it's like when you join like a free website or something, and they want your credit card just for you to join, and then once you become a member, that's when you find out everything else, and they start charging you monthly, and you're like, "What? This is not what I signed up for."
That's exactly how it is.
Yeah. So it was basically that, and I was not a born in, but it was pretty easy for me to question it because I've questioned everything else I've been in. So this really was par the course for me. And
Yeah.
I developed a special hatred for this one in particular, however, because I have never been part of any other religion where you need to shun and, all the other obvious things that I'm sure you guys talk about. So that's pretty much that.
God,
And,
you must have such a unique perspective on all this madness, being as how you were not a part of any religion at all, but you decided to join our wacky club.
I'm glad I did.
Yeah, for the
It
what? For
made
the
me,
experience?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was baptized as a baby Catholic, and then I went to a Baptist school and did all this other stuff.
She's laughing at the baby
That was
Catholic.
the best laugh.
Baby Catholic.
It's the truth, though. It is a baby Catholic. That's
Yeah.
what they do.
That's also going to be my new rap name, Baby Catholic.
Oh, that I like.
Yeah. So
But-
that's basically pretty much all of me.
No, but so So you enjoyed getting to have that experience, basically, even if it was terrible and you're glad you're out.
The thing that he enjoyed the most was being pulled into the elders' room about every 6 months and being told what we could do better. That's what he enjoyed the most.
Yeah. So here's a quick thing. So I was, I became baptized as an adult, right? So I don't have and never had that fear, that born in fear, and none of my family
So
joins
you were
me in
just
this.
living
So
life.
yeah, so anytime that they told me anything, I was just very straightforward. Like, no, no, I'm not going to do that, or that doesn't make sense. Like, and it's not because like I'm a badass or anything. It's just I didn't have that fear instilled in me. I was just like, no, this doesn't make sense. I've questioned everything else I've been in, so
I'm
this doesn't make sense either.
I'm
And
sure that made you so popular.
no. But the funny part is that the elders they didn't exactly know how to handle me, because it was like I wasn't like a running wild person.
They have
It
no
was just
power
like,
over
yeah,
you, though.
yeah, it's just like, oh, I have a beard. I'm not going to shave. I wanted to get baptized, and I'm like, I'm going to get baptized with a beard. Like, I mean, I don't know what else to say, and that had to go all the way up to God knows where.
I think a lot of us felt exactly like that right as we were waking up and right as we were getting to the point to where this is stupid. Because I know I've personally felt that way for the last, I don't know, 6 months that I was still attending meetings. They wanted to counsel me about having facial hair, and I was just kind of like, whatever. Like.
Well, the beauty about what happened with Ryan is that he never had that like waking up moment. He like always stood his ground from like the beginning
Right.
about what was scripturally acceptable and what wasn't. And when they approached him about his beard, he was just like, show me a scripture and I'll do it. And they couldn't do it. So when he got baptized, he was literally the first person in history in our area since like 1989 to get baptized with a beard. And that day, yeah,
What?
yeah, it went all the way up to like the top. They wouldn't let him get baptized. It was like he got told he could get baptized like 2 or 3 days right before because they were waiting to hear if this was okay. And so they said, well,
Man.
there's really no reason like for us to say he can't. So when the day came and he's like sitting, in the baptismal row and stands up and like all the eyes and heads start turning and staring at him.
Because that had never been done before. They don't even have.
Was like,
It's like when somebody does something weird in the NFL that they don't have a rule against, but they're not sure if they should allow it.
Well, it was crazy because there was like the sideways eyes and the happy eyes. So there was like half the people like, yeah, bro, yeah, beard, go. and then there were like the other eyes like, oh, how dare you, the balls you have,
All right.
And it wasn't like I wasn't drawing the line in the sand. I wasn't digging my heels in. I wasn't like I'm going to make a point.
Yeah.
I was just being my normal aloof self, just like. It's like you said, like football. There's nothing in the rule book that says a giraffe can't play football. It's like, no, it's like it doesn't say it, and I'm not gonna do it, and I'm literally just gonna keep doing exactly what I'm doing until someone tells me to stop.
Now I really want a giraffe to play quarterback, but
yeah. So yeah, that was pretty much it.
Very nice, very good. I would also like to ask you. You've got some pretty mad skills. I wanted to talk a little bit about you. You do some video work and some radio, and you're a musician, correct?
Yes. So I made a living for about 6 years being a musician. I play a bunch of instruments. I was in a band when I was living in Miami.
This is a cool guy.
And when I moved to cool guy. I mean, if you could describe me in 2 words, cool guy would be the 2 words I would use.
All right, now we have it established. Ryan, you are a cool guy. What do you got for us, man? We're gonna jump right into this insanity, the documents.
Yeah, so let's do it. So there is leaked documents came out, and it's basically it's a whistleblower site called Fateful. FaithLeaks was originally started by a guy who was a Mormon. He was an ex-Mormon, and he started going after the Mormon Church. So he decided that he was just kind of going to go after all cults. So, yeah, I'm assuming with the popularity of Leah Remini's show about Scientology and then Mormonism, this is kind of the untapped thing. And his aim was not specifically to call out the Watchtowers, just more so that it doesn't matter how different the religions are, cult mind control
Right.
across the board. So his actual goal was to show that look how different these religions are, but they do the same thing, just trying to point out that it's nothing to do with the Bible or anything. So what he ended up doing was he, and of course he doesn't say how, he got a hold of 69 to be specific.
You're
69
joking.
different pages of
Stop it. That was not the
Sexist.
number. You made that up.
He got a hold of us. He got a hold of 69 pages worth of documents, you know, that are in courts and court systems that are not to be made public yet. He got a hold of them and he leaked them. So, and they're all about child sex abuse. He ended up writing a story on one of them, which he felt outlined, you know, the whole basic premise of what the Watchtower Society does. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to know any more about it, or if you just kind of want me to go into this.
Yeah, I
particular
mean,
story.
I think we're just kind of. I mean, this is a casual thing. If anyone has seen my live stream, it's, you know, we don't take it too incredibly seriously. I would like to hear maybe the highlights. Start with that story, and then you know, whoever else wants to jump in on it. That's awesome.
Do you have the capability to actually screen share something or no?
I do.
Okay.
Which article are you on?
In that. So it's in that Facebook group chat that we have. I posted a link, and I'll send it again real quick. The reason why is because it's really important to see.
Is it this one, Newsweek?
Read and highlight what. It's one from Daily Mail.
Daily Mail. Okay.
I just sent it again.
Okay.
Because the documents that they uncovered, one of them is the elder's handwrite, you know, his handwritten notes, and then the other one is the typed notes after a judicial hearing. So I'll kind of recap it, give the broad strokes, and then you could pull it up whenever you want. So this was in Boston, Massachusetts. There were two sisters, and in 1974, their father was sexually molesting them. The oldest sister was being raped from the time she was 5 years old up until she was 8 years old. I mean, father, full-on rape. And the youngest daughter penetrated, but the father would put her on the bed, tie her to the bed, spread eagle, and would, quote, probe and investigate her vagina for signs of masturbation.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
How do you even know, like, what are the signs of masturbation? What is she going to do? Like, rub herself so hard she tears herself? Like, what is that even?
She rubbed herself silly. I don't know. That's,
It said that he checked to make sure that it wasn't all red.
Yeah.
Wow.
She rubbed it.
But how is that even any
No.
of his business?
No, that sounds
And
like
he
an
told an
excuse to me.
elder he
That
was
sounds like
going
an
to do that.
excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was basically, I mean, this was just an excuse, I'm assuming, just to tie her up and look at her. So fast forward now up until go to 1996. So in 1996, their father at this point is now an MS, an ministerial servant. And the daughters finally go to the elders and they say that, you know, we want to tell you about our father. He's been doing all of these things. He's been raping me. And my sister, you know, he would probe her. So obviously, as everybody knows, they would not hear the youngest sister's case, the one who was tied up and probed for masturbation, unless she was willing to sit in front of her father and accuse her father.
Right.
Even though, you know, this is now, she's probably 30 years old at this point. She couldn't do it. She couldn't face him. She didn't want to do it. So they threw that to the wayside. And that was an issue because the sister would have been the second witness to the, you know, famous two-witness rule for the eldest sister who was raped. So the eldest sister did not have two witnesses, and the youngest sister would not sit. So that was an issue. So then you go fast forward now to 2002. So this is now where the story is going to become the story, just giving a kind of the backstory to it. 2002, the youngest sister, she gathers up the courage, and she says, "I'll do it." And she does it via phone conference, right? She does not want to sit and look at her father. So she says all of these things happen. You know, my father would probe me, and she says yes, that my sister was raped. So now I don't know if you pulled up the link yet or not, but you know, there's a handwritten note from the elders, and of course the names are blocked out, and
I saw
it
that.
says all sorts of things. August 1996, 5-year-old claimed, you know, she was you know, raped and probed for masturbation from her father, and you know, there's a bunch of stuff there, the elders' notes, but out of everything written in there, the only thing that has an exclamation mark that the elder wrote, the most important thing was probe the state police thing. So the main concern wasn't about this horrible thing happening to this girl.
They want to
It
know about the
was,
police.
they want to know, was the police told,
Oh
and
my
how can
God.
they probe the state police thing, because they want to find that out.
So, if I could interject for a second. My dad, you know, he was an elder for like, since he was like 25 and for like 40 years or something like that. And, you know, one of the things when I was leaving, you know, he would only talk to me. Well, actually, he really wouldn't talk to me. So I had to write him letters. And I never got a response, by the way. But in the letters, you know, I had said to him, you know, I've gotten a hold of the Elder's Manual and all these things about child molestation, yada, yada, yada. I can't believe, you know, you as a father with a daughter at the very least was able to sit and look at me, you know, and think of all these other cases in your congregation and think that not reporting it is okay. Well, eventually a few months passed by and Ryan got a hold of my father on the phone, and my father, of course, this is his reason for why they're so concerned about what the authorities know. And the only thing he could say repetitively was to protect Jehovah's name.
That's all they're worried about.
And, you know, we both directly asked my dad, why do us measly, you know, measly, I don't even know if that's a word, little meager, you know, human beings, how is it possible that we are able to protect the Almighty Divine's name? It's not possible. Don't you think that divine creator could protect his own name on his own, regardless of what was said amongst?
I mean, that is a good point. Why are we so concerned about humans? You know, you would think that Jehovah, being so powerful, he could make his name whatever he wanted it to, without us having to sweep child abuse under the rug.
But when you look at all these events in the Bible and all these miraculous things that Jehovah, God, did, how is it not possible that, okay, fine, authorities find out that he can't hush the ears of the wrong people to protect his name? You know, he should be able to do these things.
Well, you know,
without...
Jehovah allows these things to happen. We just have to trust that it's all
Right.
correct. And all right, Maggie, what do you got to say about all this?
It's funny because, I mean, obviously the question she's asking is 99% rhetorical, because we know
Right.
it's stupid. And I would imagine, presumably, you know, the majority of people who watch your live stream are also ex-JWs or no.
Oh, yeah.
So we know the real answer. It's just more so, you know, hammering home.
It's like, huh?
Because obviously, you know, this all-powerful God who created us, who, you know, killed armies and wiped out Earth twice because he was pissed, apparently. You know, we need to now protect his name. So obviously, I mean, the very obvious answer, just in case people are listening to your live stream who have no idea anything about it, it's about protecting the Watchtower's interest.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day,
Yeah,
money and the funds. That's truly what it is.
Saying you're protecting Jehovah's name is just a fancy way of saying they're protecting Jehovah's Witnesses' reputation. That's what they're worried about, the reputation of the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's why they settle all these child abuse cases, because if they can keep this shit under the radar, they are definitely going to at any chance and at any cost. Maggie, I wanted to get some feedback from you real quick. What do you think about all this?
Well, it's just insane to me, because when I was going through everything with the elders, it was always, if you talk to the police, we will no longer help you. And that's obviously what they did to these two girls. Like, if you go to the police, that's, you know, then you're enemy number one. So there's never a good balance. It's, even these two girls had two witnesses and still they weren't heard.
It wasn't enough.
It's just, it blows my mind. No, still two witnesses were not enough.
Well, Ryan, what else you got, man? I know there's a lot more in these documents to go over.
Yeah, it's funny because it just kind of naturally segued into what eventually ended up happening. So, this was 1996. The youngest sister, she's scared. 2003, she agrees to do it, and the letter, the elders have that handwritten note, and the thing it's about probe that police thing. So then a judicial hearing actually does happen because there's now two witnesses. I don't know if you want to pull that one up or show that. Basically the punishment for him was we're going to read him some scriptures and he's going to be disfellowshipped for a while. That's basically it. And they found him to be repentant, and they found him to be remorseful because he, and I quote, let's see, the father, he would, after the event, and the event, of course, is him raping his daughter, he would cry and pray over her.
Ugh.
So basically, after he raped her, after he would come, and I don't want to sound disgusting, but that's what it was. After that, after it happened, he
Right.
would cry and he would pray over her.
Yep.
And he said that I understand that I hurt her and I ruined, not ruined, but that I altered was the word he used, her life going on. So the only punishment, so now there's two witnesses, both saying that he is a child molester. He at least raped one, and at the very least was sexually probing the other one. They felt it necessary not to report it to the police. And now the main comment from this judicial hearing, oh, actually, let's go forward a bit. So the daughter who was raped, she marries a man, and the man is an elder, right? So her husband gets he's pissed at what goes on, and he gets a restraining order. So now the girl who was raped has a restraining order against her father. Father doesn't care. Father just walks into the meeting. And the girl who was raped, her husband, who was an elder, calls the police. The police go in there in the Kingdom Hall, they arrest him, and they take him away. And now, rather than the elders or anyone caring that this girl was raped, there was two witnesses. She jumped through all the hoops. There's a restraining order.
Yeah.
That whole follow Caesar's law, right? Which they don't give a shit about, because Caesar's law is our modern day whatever goes on now, right? Whatever the police say, as long as it's not going against their beliefs. So the police go in there, they arrest him, and the elder's main point of contention was, and again, I quote, it was certainly, and they block his name, the alleged abuser. They still say alleged abuser. Even
Alleged.
Yeah, the alleged abuser was humiliated being arrested in that public fashion.
Oh.
So they were worried.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
When they went in, his brother testified and went before the other elders. This was the document 22904. The brother reported this man has no history of violence. They didn't need to call the police, even with the order of protection. And that brother was brought before the judicial committee. So her husband, that he knows his wife has been raped by this man. He's drugged before the judicial committee, not the rapist. So everybody sided with the rapist, and they said his brother just died, his wife left him, all this stuff. He's obviously going through these hardships. Like, why would you do that to him? If somebody had just told us, we would have told him to leave. All right, this man knows he has an order of protection against him. He shouldn't be where the other people were, but he's the victim. That it blew my mind.
Yeah. I was
Sorry.
just gonna say that he shouldn't be in a Kingdom Hall at all. This guy is a high risk.
No.
I mean, he's a pedophile. So
Well,
excuse me for not
jail.
getting all misty that you had to leave the hall in cuffs or what have you.
Well, there's several dynamics happening here as to why all this is going on, and this is why it's really important that we get on these live streams and we let the public know, because the more pressure we can put on, eventually it will pop. The dynamics that are happening here are, you have enabling from people who are elders in a congregation who have brainwashed people in terms of saying they're under the seat, right near the hand of God. Basically, they're enabling him to do these things by telling him it's okay, because you felt repentant, and it's okay for you to come in because of, you know, being in spiritual, at the spiritual table is more important than Caesar's law. But the problem is when you have enablers who are giving these perpetrators excuses, basically,
free reign,
to be who they are. The reason why it's happening is because none of these elders have gone through one single psychology class in their life. These people are not trained to deal with these matters. Yeah. And, you know, when you sit here and you use scripture as your basis to govern a group of people, you can use that to a certain point, because our species has evolved past a couple thousand years ago. When the Bible was written about the 2-witness rule, that was written for the audience.
It wasn't even like they pointed out to be either. It was a thing. If there was a dispute you had with your brother in the congregation, Jesus said, "Well, take along another person," and it had nothing to do with child molestation or rape or anything like that.
But even going back to that example that they gave with the woman in the field, you know,
Deuteronomy,
even with our species as young as it was then, they had enough sense to say, okay, well, no one was there to see it. Obviously, this person's been traumatized enough, and there's enough physical evidence to convict this person. But when you have somebody in 2017 using laws that were written, you know, way before the 1st century to govern your kingdom hall, when human psychology is now advanced to a certain point where we understand way past what the Bible was written to guide these people based on their level of understanding at that time. If they want to govern people, which I understand that spirituality is paramount, I get that. But if you want to govern people, you need to put these elders, these leaders, through the church needs to pay for them to go through at least a bachelor's, 1 year of psychology, to at least be able to understand the criminal mind and the victim mind.
Well, and it's more than that too. They also are not trained to look for evidence of raping or anything like that. I definitely don't.
Well, they can't. That's a nurse and doctor thing,
right?
You know?
In no world should Jehovah's Witness elders ever be determining whether or not a accusation is legitimate or not. It's madness.
This stuff should be constantly brought forward and constantly talked about, even though we know most people who are in the organization are never going to hear this, because, you know, they're terrified to hear anything criticizing their group. Anyone who's not in it, who may be even thinking of becoming in it, need to hear these things, because if you can understand the dangers that await you, the guilt of just not doing the human thing of contacting a police officer or even a doctor or a social worker, like what that does to somebody in the long run, having to hold that inside and sit across the kingdom hall from their perpetrator for however many years that they're made to do this, what this does to people psychologically contributes to the rest of society around them, to every person they come in contact with, because that person is damaged.
That's good. That's a great point. Ryan, Maggie, there's a lot to dig through here. What else we got in these documents?
I was amazed by the document 92004. It goes through the list of questions that they asked her, and the one was to see if they must disfellowship him based on how many people she told.
Yeah,
so
that's always the thing.
Quiet and nobody knew, he was just going to be okay. Like,
well,
privately
reproof. Yep. Yeah.
And so nobody would know that kid, you know, your kids are sitting next to this guy that's tying up his children and raping them.
That's the sad thing, is that if they understood the psychology of a person that can do these types of things, to people, they would not allow this person to sit in the hall, but they don't understand it. They aren't equipped with the power and the knowledge to be able to protect the flock.
Did any of you guys get privately reproved?
Hell no, I got this fellowship
No,
twice.
you went straight to disfellowshipping every time.
I was reproved once publicly.
Publicly? Wow, you must have told the whole congregation
Yeah.
your business. That's what that was.
There was I don't know if this was privately because it was both Luna and I in the same room when we were using that karaoke app.
Yes.
Karaoke. I got to hear more, Ryan. Okay, tell the story.
So, I'll tell this right quick. So there was like, but we were on vacation. There was this karaoke app, like you pull up a song and then you have your headphones with the microphone, plugged into your phone, and the instrumental starts playing and you sing. So have you ever seen the movie Walk Hard? With
I saw the previews. I always wanted to see it, but I didn't know.
So it's just a spoof on Walk the Line, and there's a song and there's no curse words. It's just a lot of sexual innuendos.
Yeah.
So we sang it, Luna and I, and we recorded it, and it went up on Facebook. Unbeknownst to her, she honestly to God had no idea that it posted. But it posted, and somebody told, somebody spoke, and then they brought us, and they told us about what we did, and again, we really didn't care. It's like, okay, who cares?
Okay,
but we weren't bowing down to it. We're just like, whatever. Like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter.
At the end of the show, I'm totally playing that song. I hope you know that.
That's fine. And it was funny because they had said like something along the lines of like, well, like, what if this stumbles somebody? And all I was thinking was that, like, anyone could be stumbled by anything. So that means this is going to be like the movie Equilibrium or like the book 1984, where no one can do anything at all because everyone could be offended by anything.
Dude, that was a good movie. Equilibrium. Props. No, not a lot of people know about that.
In their defense.
Whose defense?
Slightly their defense.
Who are you defending?
Slightly.
Who?
Mute her.
Yeah, she's getting booted.
Just listen. Hold on.
You got
Just
3
wait.
seconds.
Okay. Part of the lyrics was, I'd like to come.
Okay, well, no. Okay, all right. Let's keep this PG-13 if possible. Okay.
That's its interpretation.
But they were not talking about coming in the back door. They were talking about walking in the back door.
Oh my God!
I want to say something.
Thanks, Luna.
And you don't care if I curse, right?
Nah,
right?
go for it.
Cool.
When I heard that Luna was also gonna be on tonight, I was like, oh, it's gonna be one of those nights.
Hush your mouth.
No, go ahead.
So, real quick, going back to that story, there's just kind of 2 things that I want to point out because everyone's talking about the elders and how bad it is and they're hiding everything, but there's one thing that I think is so staggeringly important that no one's talking about, and that is that the girl who was raped, and then along with the girl who was sexually molested, right? They went all these years. Their father's an MS. They were raped. They were treated horribly. The elders wouldn't believe them. All this shit. This part, they stayed Jehovah's Witnesses. The girl who was raped, her husband became an elder, and that's the part that, to me, someone who wasn't born into it, because it's so easy. You want to point it out, and you want to hurt the governing body. You want to hurt their doctrine, right? And it's really easy to feel that vengeance. But I'm more so concerned about let's look at the fact that look at the brainwashing. Mm-hmm. She was raped, and they blamed the victim, and they protected this guy. They didn't
Still
leave.
witnesses.
They stayed there.
I had not even thought about
One was
that.
in Bethel.
Jesus.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And the other thing that I want to point out is like, look, they came up with this whole 2-witness bullshit that doesn't belong anywhere. These fucking rules that they have about like, oh, you need 2 witnesses, right? Lord knows it's very rare that a guy says, hey, I'm raping my daughter, who wants to come watch? I need at least 2 people. I'm having a daughter rape party tonight. Like, it doesn't happen. There's not going to be 2
hopefully,
witnesses with
God, I hope that doesn't happen.
Well, he did. He had a rape party in the trailer park.
What?
And they did not. This girl was raped. She was 5. Mm-hmm. And he raped her, and there were several people watching. They all paid the guy whose trailer apparently it was. And they did not believe this girl because she said she closed her eyes. She's 5. They did not believe her because she said she closed her eyes and she saw him enter the room, but she didn't see him actually perform the rape.
Oh my
So they discredit her. Yeah. And also, I'd like to note that they asked each of these girls if these were repressed memories, because apparently if it was a repressed memory, they were not going to count.
The elders asked her this.
The elders asked
What the
them.
hell does an elder know about repressed memories?
Okay, so they're getting guidance from the headquarters, and the headquarters is using every legal loophole to protect themselves on 2 different levels. 1, from accusation within the congregation, and 2,
They're janitors. They're window cleaners. Come on.
But I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're being fed the information to ask, because when any sort of child molestation accusation is made, the very first move they make, which we all have, hopefully a lot of us have educated ourselves this way, the very first move they make is calling the headquarters legal department.
Yeah.
From that point on, they govern everything they ask, everything they say, everything they do, whether these poor elders. And honestly, at this point, I'm realizing with all of my, since leaving, with all of my investigation into like why the elders do what they do, I'm realizing that the elders are even more brainwashed and controlled than the average member.
Well, they'd have to be, right?
Well, think about it. If once you get privileges, you know, to handle the mic or do the sound, you know, they're watching you from that point to see how well you obey orders. And if you're super good at obeying orders, then they're going to promote you into being an elder so that you're their little robot.
True.
And they are going to control everything that they ask these victims. And, you know, a lot of people, I've had this asked to me, oh, there's 6 million of you, but there's only so and so many thousand rape cases that are coming out. It doesn't even matter how small the number is, honestly, because it's only going to get worse.
No,
if we do not keep this in
I'm
front
glad
of the
you
headlines.
went there, because a lot of people saw the Australian Royal Commission numbers and they thought, oh, well, it was like 1% or something of the
Right.
JW, you know, that were pedophiles. What people don't realize, because it seemed less than the other religions, that there was less pedophilia going on than the other religions. You have to realize how much smaller the population of Jehovah's Witnesses are in relation to those other ratios. Like, you have to figure that in. The Jehovah's Witnesses are a pretty small group, and over in Australia, I don't remember the numbers, but I guarantee you the population of Jehovah's Witnesses is much smaller than all these other religious groups. That's why.
Let's say there's 60 Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's just use a number like 100, a nice round number, and you have one.
Well, wasn't it 1 per Kingdom Hall?
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
those
it was
people,
1 per Kingdom
okay,
Hall. That's
so
huge.
Send your child to school, and there's 1 teacher that's a pedophile. But send them to school.
Right.
Even if it's that low, if nobody talks about it, the percentage of the way they handle the rape cases is the same across the board in every congregation. It's coming from the headquarters.
Yeah.
And even if it's only 100 members, eventually 10 members becomes 100 members, meaning 100% of the population of Jehovah's Witnesses are being raped and mistreated. Eventually, it will penetrate every single congregation if this is not attacked.
I'm going to ask you to avoid using the word penetrate.
Somewhat of perspective.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Let me put this in somewhat of perspective, right? Imagine that you had 5 children and somebody says, this neighborhood is safe, all right? Only 1% of your kids are going to be raped.
Oh.
That's it.
Yeah, no.
All of a sudden now, 1% sounds like a huge fucking number.
Yeah,
right?
it is huge.
And it's the point that I was trying to make earlier, and I'm glad that you brought it up. You brought up the fact that he did have rape viewings and everything, and that's exactly where I was headed.
But they weren't witnesses that they would have.
No, but there was 3 brothers there.
They were brothers?
Because
they were brothers.
If you see, there's 3 names blocked out, and it was 3 brothers. So that's 3 brothers in 1 Kingdom Hall that you know of.
I'm sorry, I interrupted
and
you.
I'm glad she brought that up, because that's the point where I was heading to, was that the whole 2-witness rule, they hope that, you know, they assume that you're probably going to rape or molest somebody. in private, right? So you're not really going to have two
Yeah,
witnesses.
yeah.
This is one of those rare instances where there were witnesses. And even through all the loopholes that they give, it's still
Swept
meant dick
under
at
the
the end of the day.
rug. That's
They still
terrifying.
didn't care to report.
That
So that just goes
is
to show you that
disgusting.
it is nothing biblical at all.
Ugh.
It is just hide it. What is the best way to hide it? And you know what? There's lots of people in jail for rape and pedophilia. And reading them Deuteronomy, whatever the fuck that stupid paper said, it doesn't fix any of them. Like
I agree.
That was what they said. Read Deuteronomy. But you know what? And let me tell you something, right? Because since I was in a Catholic church, I was in a non-denominational church, I was in a Baptist church, I have never belonged to a group, aside from the witnesses, where from the stage they like poking fun of and they like making fun of other religions and all their dumb shit.
That's
right?
interesting.
So
I've always wondered about that.
that's at first, because I remember being at the Kingdom Hall and they said, oh, you know, like in the Catholics, like sometimes they believe that you just can confess and say Hail Marys and then you're clean, you know, and everybody laughs, you know, or they had made comments before,
Yeah.
like, oh, I was at someone's door one time and a woman wanted to argue with me and she said, well, I want to read scriptures from the real Bible, the King James version, and everybody laughs. You know, they like poking fun. They like poking
There's
fun at
there's
other
definitely
religions.
a superiority complex going on in the congregation.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And
But they're not prideful.
Not
And then that
prideful at all.
exists in every religious sect. Like, you know, when you look at the Jews, the Orthodox Jews versus the Reformed Jews and the Hasidic Jews, you know, there's a hierarchy there too. They think who's better. It exists, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, the point that I was getting to is that they like poking fun at like the Catholic Church. Oh, you just say a few Hail Marys and then you're clean and no one cares. But we have the real truth because we follow this shit. But then all of a sudden, there's a girl getting raped and there's rape viewings. And okay, they're not saying Hail Marys, but they're going to read them Deuteronomy, whatever the fuck it is. And he's now clean too, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody cares. And that whole Caesar's Law thing. And I had this argument with Luna's dad and he was unable to answer me. I said, if we're following Caesar's law, the law says that if anybody, especially a minor, says that they've been sexually molested, you have to report it to the police by law.
Yeah.
And now let's take it a step further because they're going to say, well, you know what? There's those clergy rules where they're protected under, you know, religious things. That's only in 36 states. Okay. There are 17 states where religion does not matter. You need to follow the law. You cannot handle things internally. So they're going to preach about following Caesar's law in every aspect. You cannot just pick and choose, follow his law on whatever the hell works for you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. Well
So in
said.
conclusion, fuck 'em.
Well, I was going to say before we go any further, I'm going to steal another page from the Vast Apostate Hour. In the live chat, you guys, if you have something you want to say, if you have something, a question you want to ask the panel, just put it in all caps, and I will try to...
Oh, I've been chatting with him the whole time.
I saw you. I saw you. You're like in there flirting. I saw. You're like, hi, Ricky.
I can't even see the chat. It's not loading for me, but I believe she's flirting.
I'm just
100
teasing.
years old, so I have to like look and type.
Oh, you are not. Stop it. Stop
Okay.
it.
Can we say what's everybody's ages? I am curious.
Oh no.
23.
Come on. 23, you liar. All right,
24.
I'm 32. I'll be 33 in July. Ryan's the old guy.
No.
Not?
No.
What do you mean
He's
not?
my age. Are you kidding me? He's my age.
31. I'm younger than you.
I turned 40 on Monday.
What?
No one believes you, Maggie.
Yeah.
She's been saying this. She's been saying this for a long time. I've been chatting with her. None of us believe it.
Amazing.
It's a lie.
Thank you.
I don't believe her.
I would have sworn you were 29.
That's the
Oh, I love you guys. You're my favorite people.
it's the Illuminati skin cream that she's got. But anyways,
Zeb just said he's 38.
I'm 31,
Oh,
but who
catch
cares?
up.
Maggie, wasn't there something that
Yeah.
I told you? Okay, there's a lot of things. Okay, I'm behind. There are some things I wanted to talk about or at least mention. So a good article, it's on Newsweek, it's on Daily Mail, but also, let me see if I can find it. My friend, Alexandra, let's see. Alexandra James has a website called jwvictims.org, and she did an excellent article on it as well. And she's got some of the, what do you call them? The notes and whatnot all listed there for you. I recommend you check that out as well. Maggie,
yeah,
Maggie, wasn't there?
We wanted to shout out JW Suicide.
Ah,
Yeah.
thank you. Yes, JW Suicides did a video on the documents. A lot of people have already. This is blowing up like big time. Do you remember who else made a video so far? Like
Dallas, Canada.
Dallas,
We saw it popped
Canada.
up right as we were doing this.
I love me some Dallas, Canada. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, check those out. Maggie, there was something though. You told me something about these documents that had me kind of shocked.
You're gonna feign.
Yeah, I'm gonna pretend like I haven't heard it before live.
Okay,
but...
awesome. So, to a point. Okay, so for the who was actually raped, she confessed to them that when her father would tie up the younger sister, she would hear him. They were in a bunk bed, and she was on the bottom bunk, and she would hear him heavy breathing. So she felt he was raping her as well, but nobody believed her. So that when the second child finally came forward and said, "Yes, I'm ready to face him," they did not disfellowship him. They did not believe her. They completely ignored all of her demands to be heard. So then he counteracted by slander. So he sent repeatedly, like, you can see him. This is the last, I think,
What a piece of shit.
6 documents saying how she slandered him, how she was, I guess, in cahoots with, it was very confusing. He has like 3 wives.
Oh.
I think the second wife
Yes,
was in cahoots with her.
She's slandering him.
And her best friend is going after him, and I guess he went to court, and I guess his daughter cornered somebody that was with him, and that girl felt violated and how she was going to get attacked. So he turned this all around, that the second daughter, he never admitted to raping the oldest. He never actually admitted to raping her. He admitted to tying them up and checking them for masturbation, but he never actually said that he raped them.
Well, where I come from, that's enough.
He's being enabled. He's being enabled.
Yep. And they listened to him, and they did get a little testy with his constant letters, I guess. And they were just like, "You have nothing new to add. We're not going to go after your daughter," because I think that's the one that was actually in Bethel.
Her daughter. Where are you from? Where are you?
New York.
I was just going to say, where in Long Island are you from?
I am from Long Island.
Yeah, I know.
I say water. I say draw. I say mirror.
Butter.
Like butter. But...
Pour yourself a pot of coffee and we'll talk, Maggie.
Have some bagels, some blocks.
Let me ask a question right quick if I can.
What's up, Ryan?
How many of y'all saw the Dr. Phil episode?
Oh
Monday?
my God! What a clusterfuck!
Yeah.
That was a wild ride, man.
Assume all of you, right? Luna and I viewed it together, and the very first thing that we both thought was that this seems like a setup.
Staged.
Because,
Yeah.
I cannot imagine that there was a scenario where a witness would say he's going to go on Dr. Phil and the elders would say it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And 2, they do their best to hide reporting things to the police.
Yep.
And they were talking about how the elders reported this to the police. That just seemed like a hidden in plain sight, subconscious thing about, oh, the elders. That seemed like such bullshit.
Two possibilities.
All the way around.
It could have been that it was fake, that they staged it. It's all Hollywood, which I think is likely. But if it was real, what you have to remember is that there were 7 incidents that was reported to the authorities. Now, we don't know at what point the elders finally gave this to the authorities. I mean, it could have been the 7th incident where they were finally like, okay, well, now I guess it's about time that we go to the police and have this investigated.
I just don't see them going to the police. I
That-
just don't.
Yeah, I really don't
That's
either.
that's true. That's definitely true. I would say the moment that they said the elders called CPS on them was the moment I thought it was fake. However, when I watched the wife, okay, her reactions and her egotism and her can't be wrong, and that convinced me that it was a real situation. But when I watched,
It's possible she was the only real element of it, though.
well, here's the thing. His personality seems very stereotypical of a very conditioned JW, to be very meek, mild mannered, and I'm not gonna. And he did not want to say anything negative about his fellow churchgoers when Dr. Phil was like, oh, I'm sure there's some eccentric, parishioners in your church, right? He didn't want to say anything. So I kind of, my mind kind of changed about it being fake. But about the 7 cases, I believe this story. I believe this story because I dealt with I got to be careful about the boundaries that I cross here, but when they were talking about the child that has the impulse control issues and throws violent fits, that's a real brain chemical issue. And her oldest child, who is not his child, which is significant to the story, has this issue. He has disruptive, I forget what it's called at the moment because I'm like a bottle into wine, but
You're looking at it from a psychology point of view where all this lines up.
Yes, it's a disruptive syndrome where they act violent when they don't understand a situation. They're very just aggressive.
But
and
what you got to remember is that Dr. Phil is a psychologist as well. So if he's writing the show, he could write a pretty damn convincing script if he wanted to.
Yeah, but his producers cut out a lot of that show because in the preview, they said they were going to address how the husband needs to get away from the religion because that's causing a problem with CPS.
Yeah.
And they didn't actually show it.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, so the problem is that we missed a lot of what Dr. Phil had to say. I have no doubt that Dr. Phil, as a criminal and forensic psychologist, knew exactly what the problems were, especially when it comes to a cult. But because that's something we study when it comes to criminal psychology is cult activity. But the problem with that guy and that whole show is he was being set up because he was dealing with other kids, another kid in that family that's like throwing tantrums, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. So then when this wife and this husband are having marital problems, here's what I think happened. I think she got a little angry with her husband, called the elders, wanted to get probably him in trouble a little bit. She probably exaggerated some things, and that's probably where the whole zipper
I don't know. I
comes
mean,
from.
you gotta be a piece of work to get mad at your husband and then accuse him of child molestation. I'm just saying.
I agree with you. But
Mia
watching
T
her,
says,
that piece of work.
yeah, I mean, it's possible. She did seem really...
Here was my theory.
Can I, real
was
quick,
my theory
the
on
live
that.
chat is going
Yeah.
insane. They want to jump through the monitor and rip our faces off. Mia T says that she'd only been out for 4 months when the show taped. So, I mean, that is pretty significant. I mean, if she was only out 4 months and then she went on Dr. Phil, that's pretty wild. Ryan, what were you going to say?
Perspective on that, and this is what I told Luna the other day, was that obviously out of it, she desperately wants her husband out of it. That it's in the realm of possibility that she fabricated these things about her husband, doubt, because she probably felt helpless, that he's not going to leave. I mean, why else would you make up these stories? I mean, like they said, 7 times.
You know
no
what?
one said she made it up. Nobody said she made it up.
Yeah, that's what
They
pisses
said
me
the
off.
son-
They
That
never
was my
explored.
assumption.
They
Is it possible
never.
that maybe she exaggerated these things to get him kicked out?
It could be,
But
but
didn't the son say he pushed him out of the window or something? He fell out of the window, and then he said that the dad or the stepdad pushed him.
Yes, he did
Yeah.
say that, but that is very typical of disruptive disorder. That's like they don't understand what's happening in their mind. The one of the children that I've had experience with disruptive disorder could not explain any of his issues except for that they were demons. And we knew medically it's not demons, it's just he didn't know how to express it.
well, part of me, what pissed me off about the show is that they were all talking about all these other complicated issues, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, but did he do it? Like, I want to know more about how you know he didn't do it. Because they were all just like, they all had decided, well, it was all a misunderstanding. Really? Can you elaborate a little bit about how all that shit was a misunderstanding? Because then maybe I can handle all this other talk. You know what I mean?
Watching the whole show, I really don't think he did any of that. I really feel like she rules the roost at home. She probably asked him to do some things, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't want to throw her under the bus. We saw that. I mean, because he said some questionable things in terms of his faith that he could be pulled in the back room over just for being loyal to his wife. So it's obvious he loves his woman, and that's good. They need to be a team. But it seems like to me that what happened was they were having some real marital problems. She was probably a little angry, probably exaggerated a couple things. Nobody really remembers their lies if you're not a seasoned liar and enjoy doing it. You know, she probably exaggerated some things, and she can't say that because she doesn't want to incriminate herself, and that's why she wanted to walk off the show. But then you saw it pull around and them try to make sense of the situation, and they kept bringing it back to the religion, which honestly from the show I didn't really feel like the religion had as much to do with it as they wanted it to be honest.
It just was more like his relationship with his wife. And then to bring it back to the documents, he claimed, this man claimed that his wife told him, his wife that has died, she's dead at this point, he claims that she's the one who told him to tie up the children. So now he's absolved of all guilt. He doesn't have to worry about, it's not his fault. I'm sorry that I did it. I'm sorry that I listened to my wife, my wicked wife that's dead.
Oh my God. So the scapegoat is a dead person.
That was his out.
Wow. Yeah, is this scumbag in a prison cell right now? I hope so, right? I'd like to know, just for personal reasons.
Well, at one point, he said that he would like to, on the document 8/1805, he's requesting to serve where the need is greater. So he was asking if it could be cleared up, all the accounts of slander that his daughters put before him.
Yeah, I have important JW stuff to do, so if we could just wrap this up quickly, that'd be great. You know, the whole child sex abuse thing that I did with all my daughters and shit. Could we just... Wow.
But he did mention that financially he was able to do it. So he knew exactly what word to say. And I don't know if anybody else read the documents and noticed that when he was writing to the society, he quoted more scriptures than when the society was writing back to all of them. So this guy definitely knew how to manipulate everything. He was quoting scripture after scripture.
Well, hey.
When he was abused.
Maybe he's going to run for governing body.
The Watchtower loves to give statistics. So here's the statistic. This guy molested 100% of his daughters. 100% of his daughters he molested. Why does nobody care about that?
Hashtag truth.
Here's the thing. I'm not trying to laugh because I think it's funny. It's just, and I say this all the time, like in life you have two options. You can laugh or you can cry.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
It's so absolutely disturbing, and like I said, me having the luxury of not being born into this and me seeing everything else, they're all just bullshit.
Well, here's the thing we should take away from all of this is that Guys, the Watchtower is crumbling. It is crumbling hard. We have all of this going on in the same week. We have the Dr. Phil shenanigans. We've got these exposed documents, which will be huge. I mean, it's already going viral. The internet's picking up Daily Mail, Newsweek, a couple others. I would love to see this.
Massive show. Who's she's
Leah
gonna be
Remini?
talking about the JWs too.
Leah Remini is totally season. Is it 3 that she's coming up on?
It'll be season 3.
Yeah, and she's gonna delve into the JWs.
Here's the problem.
What's up?
You know what the problem is? That no one all of us who've left, any of our family members, they're not going to see any of this. They're not going to watch the crumbling. They're not going to see any of the proof.
They will if I send them links.
They will. You hope. But the
Yeah.
thing that's sad is that people who are in it are not going to see these heavy hitting things because they are just so trained by propaganda videos at every convention and every meeting to frickin' turn it away and say it's garbage and it's from Satan. But you know, the good thing is that anybody who's not a Jehovah's Witness, who's thinking about it, or may have a friend who's thinking about it, or a family member, are going to be able to say, okay, look what I found out. You know, at least we can prevent some people from going in to this dangerous, evil thing.
Yeah, I agree, but I also would say that there are some JWs who are going to respond to these scandals because some of them are us. There are a few of us who saw the Australian Royal Commission.
Okay, that's fair.
And they were like, you know what, enough's enough. So I get that most of them are going to just turn a blind eye, but there are some who genuinely care about their friends and family and whether or not it's the truth and whether or not their God would actually allow this kind of thing, who will see this stuff and possibly turn around. So
I think it's going to die out. I mean, people who are in their 20s now who are already skeptical, who, you know, they know how to use the internet. You can't filter everything. They're children. It's going to be harder for somebody who's 20 years old right now to tell their children 10 years down the road that, no, forget all of that stuff.
Right.
I think it's going to slowly fade out. You know, I think that's why they're starting with hey, we're going to go door to door preaching Armageddon. You know, I think they're trying to cash out. You know, it's like, guys, we had a long run. We've done well. It's time to sell the stock and cash out.
Well, look at how far
they're away in the bankruptcy.
God, Maggie, oh man, I just realized that I'm the only one who's been an apostate for like over 2 years here. But and that's nothing really. There's some of us who've been doing this for a long time. Think about how far we've come. 10 years ago, we didn't have the Australian Royal Commission. We didn't have any of these documents and things, overlapping generation and all that nonsense. I mean, apostasy was a lot harder back then because this really hadn't come out, and now it's just like boom, 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 boom. Every other month, there's some huge scandal. What is it? They're paying $4,000 a day in California, Maggie. What is it?
Yeah, $4,000 a day to hide the registry for sex offenders within Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
So, and they're saying that the registry is so huge that it's going to take how many man hours? I don't know. Somebody in the comments can share. But it's going to be like so many lifetimes or something that they can download it. So, like, why is that not a huge indication that this thing is huge?
I know.
Like, if it's going to take that much.
Huge indication to anyone who is not a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
So we have someone on the chat who is still in, who just addressed me. But I don't know how to even bring that up, but I just wanted to let you guys know.
Are they lost? Did they turn down a back alley and they ended up in our garage? I'm confused.
They just said, no, Luna, I'm still in. And I'm going back and looking through my comments in the chat, and I don't see anything to where...
no context was given to that.
Right, yeah, and I think they're responding to something that I said. So there's definitely people who are in, who are listening.
Oh, God, yes.
Right
Maggie,
now.
how many comments do we get from JWs who are pissed?
Oh my God. What did I say? Or somebody said my life sucks ass because I said November 5th was the best weekend of my life.
We get a lot of JW hate, man. They do watch these videos for some reason.
You know what? I tell them they can suck my dick.
But they're watching us, so that's fine.
There's this little known website, maybe you've heard of it. It's called Reddit. small little community, right?
Yeah.
And I am a fan of their XJW subreddit. The amount of people who are still JWs who live a double life,
Oh yeah.
they don't want to lose their family, is fucking
Yeah.
staggering.
Yeah. It
It
really is.
absolutely incredible. And again, since I have the perspective of I was raised something else and then I came into this, like here's the best way I could give this, right? Like it's like if you're 30 years old, right? However old you guys are now, you meet somebody, they seem cool, you hang out, and then you're like a week later, like that guy's a dick. He's not as cool as I thought he was, right? You don't give a shit. You move about your business, right? If then it's like, man, my dad's acting like an asshole, but he's my dad. He's been with me forever. You think about harder, right? So I'm living in the world of, all right, he seems cool, but that guy's a dick. That's the world that I live in.
Ryan, I'm trying to keep it together. That's like one of the funniest comparisons of JW World I've ever heard. That's amazing.
So he just responded and he said, yeah, I'm still in. I was just responding to something you said earlier. And here's the thing. This is what I would want you to know. When I was leaving, obviously you're listening for a reason, and it's because your common sense knows that it's all bullshit. Okay? And you don't want to leave because your entire social circle and your emotions are wrapped into this JW community. And let me tell you, honestly, when I had the moment to look back and say, okay, do I want to leave this because I don't want to be afraid? I don't want to leave all my friends and family. When I was sitting there meditating on that question, every betrayal I ever had was made to me by a Jehovah's Witness. My best friend, and my two cousins. You know why? Because their loyalty is to the organization. And you cannot trust a single person within that organization. When you leave and you make friends with people who are outside of that organization, those people have no reason to be friends with you other than the fact that they just like you.
That's a good point.
So
Wow.
when you leave and you feel lonely, number one, you'll have all of us. Number two, you will make room for people that just simply like you and have no reason to fear for their lives for simply liking you. So get out of that disgusting thing and you will have all of us.
Maggie,
I know that's like heavy for me to say, but I just have to say it.
Maggie, we chat like every day, don't we?
And Parker always says I up everybody, but I just want to share my experience. So if you
Oh boy, here we go.
Okay. Ready for it? Okay. So when I left, I had to leave for domestic violence, and it was a safety concern. I was not planning on meeting with the elders. My mother tricked me by picking me up at my apartment and bringing me to a judicial committee that I knew nothing about. And I got disfellowship that day. But at that point, I was staying at a shelter, and somebody I worked with for 2 months let me and my daughters move in with them. She did not take any of my money. She was there for me every single day. She helped me get on my feet. My mom didn't do that for me. My sisters, I have 3 sisters. None of them did that for me. And I did nothing wrong. I left and I had done nothing wrong at that point. Now I'm a big sinner. But at that point, nothing wrong. So if you feel like you're going to fail leaving or you're going to fall flat on your face, none of these people in the chat, none of us are going to let you fall flat on your face.
Right. Thank you so much, guys. Wow. We should just repeat that like all the time because honestly, we really don't talk about. But you know what? That's honestly, I gotta give props to Joel Martz because he started this little thing called the Vast Apostate Hour. And what he did was he took all these isolated people, these YouTubers that we watch, and we're like, hey, I can connect to this guy. Hey, I can connect to this girl. And he said, you know what? Let's bring them all together. Let's bullshit. Let's have a good time. And at the end of the day, we'll make some friends. And because of that, I feel like there's a much tighter community. Well, you know, there are factions. You've got these people on this side, these people on this side. We tend to be the ones who are a little intense. But yeah, he brought us together, and he really tried to put a spotlight on people who were out there who he thought deserved a closer look. And what that does is when you get to see these people and you get to hear them and get to know what they're all about, you're able to decide, well, hey, I kind of like this person. I think I want to try and be his friend. And that's what's happened for a lot of us. Maggie, I met you in Warwick. I mean, we had talked a little bit on Facebook before that, but just a little bit. And then, like, now we're like best friends. So there is a strong community of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. We are a very tight-knit group, because, I mean, look at what we went through together. Like, we all endured this weird, stupid thing. Yeah, so I really appreciate you guys talking about that. I'm gonna try to I wasn't planning on going on this long, but you guys are all phenomenal. You guys are like greased lightning or something. One last thing I wanted to...
You are a nerd.
Greased lightning. One last thing,
I
though.
like your up-to-date topical references. Maybe you got a Casablanca quote you can throw in, bud.
Oh my god, I can't. I know I gotta go pee, y'all.
All right, but you're not doing it on the stream this time, Luna. You're gonna... There went your backdrop.
She's too busy breaking everything we own.
Next time we're doing this all together so she can share her wine.
I'm
Oh,
Breaking
yeah.
Bad. I'm Breaking Bad, y'all.
Oh, yeah. So the other thing, while we're on the topic of the Watchtower crumbling from the inside, all of this is possible that we're talking about tonight because of insiders. Like Ryan was talking about, there's all these people living a double life. There's these elders that are going to the Kingdom Hall, and they're out mentally. But then they get on XJW Reddit, or they get on Twitter, or they get on whatever, and they start leaking all this stuff. Guys, I think a lot of you are aware of this, but some of you may not be. Did you know that there is a video from Warwick? Somebody filmed us from the governing body's headquarters. They filmed us because they were scared shitless of what we were doing out there, and then someone leaked that onto the internet. Maggie, you've seen this already, right?
I'm not gonna lie, it terrified me for about 5 minutes. I was like, I'm never bringing my daughters to another protest again.
You better.
That terrified me for about 5 minutes, and then it pissed me off.
So here, okay, I'm just...
So somebody filmed y'all protesting and then put that out?
Yeah, from the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses through the blinds and shit. They've got a camera. They're zooming in on our faces. I'm gonna play it right now. Ryan,
cool.
you've got the live stream up on your...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I
so
do watch it.
here it is. There's Neil. They're taking pictures, by the way, as they're filming us. There's Rick Farron. I don't know where I'm at. I think I must have just, like, took a shit in the woods or something. I don't know. But yeah, you can see the blinds there.
Well, honored, honestly.
Yeah, it was a big shock to me, and I was, like, really taken aback by this. So not only do we know that they're so paranoid that they're filming us like this and taking pictures of our faces, but we also know that someone in there is out enough to leak this footage to us on the internet.
Hold on.
Do you think it was a scare tactic, though?
Wait, no, wait, what's going on? Explain.
While they were protesting at Warwick, there were people in there zooming in through the blinds, taking pictures and zooming in on their faces because they're scared of what they're doing.
I saw
Well,
that.
Maggie, it's a fair point that they could have been just trying to put this on the internet to be some sort of intimidation scare tactic, but that doesn't hold a lot of water to me, because they by now know that we don't intimidate easily. They by now know that we will do pretty much anything within the realm of legal boundaries to expose them. They think that we're mentally diseased Satan worshippers or some shit. It doesn't make sense to me that they think that by releasing this, it's going to intimidate us into not doing it again. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me ask a question real quick, and this is for all three of you across the board. How many of you, like, and if any, let me say that. How long after you, okay, shit, let me think how to ask this. How long were you mentally checked out before you decided that you were going to disassociate?
Years.
After you disassociated or you went to this fellowship, how long until you decided you were going to be apostate? And how long from when you were mentally checked out did you lose? How long did it take you to lose that fear?
Maggie, you want to go first?
Not being resurrected,
I'll go.
or just,
Maggie was pretty
or
quick.
Just fear of everything that was instilled in you.
I left, or I was disfellowshipped when I left my abusive ex-husband. It took me 3 years to be able to say anything bad about the organization at all. Still did not consider myself an apostate. I still justified, I was an apologist. I justified everything that my family did to everybody that I knew. And then the Australian Royal Commission came out. My father passed away from refusing a blood transfusion. And I questioned it to my mother the day after he passed away, and she called me an apostate, and that was like a punch in the face. And then honestly, I haven't really been an active apostate maybe a year now.
Yeah. For me it was you know, I didn't plan on being an apostate. I mentally checked out from the thing when I was about 21 because I had a really bad breakup and it just made me so jaded about everything, which is really stupid. Oh, Parker had a little breakup and it got all emo. Totally went emo. Nah, so yeah, I don't know. I just was really bitter. I kind of just paid lip service after that. I got married because I, wanted to be able to keep my family and have sex at the same time. So, but that even that decision was like, well, this girl isn't going to make me be an Uber JW, so it'll work, because she was not an Uber JW for sure. And then it took some time for me to start researching things. Like I think that my hatred for the phoniness just grew and grew and grew until I was like, you know what, it's time. I'm going to research all these weird little question marks that I've had in my brain, in the back of my brain, my whole life growing up in this thing. And so I did. The first thing I looked up was Charles Taze Russell, because people didn't seem to want you to look into his life and all of his teachings. That was old light, and they were kind of weird about you talking about it or looking into it. So that was like one of the first things.
You mean the guy buried under a pyramid who chose to be buried under the Masonic Lodge instead of next to the Kingdom Hall?
A boy named Charlie. I wrote, okay, this is going to date the exact time that this...
same schmuck who lived in a giant-ass mansion during the Great Depression?
Hold on, I think that was a different schmuck, but I think that was Rutherford, but I could be wrong.
Well, whatever, they were both rich as shit, is all I'm saying. That's the point.
Russell, so I wrote a blog when I did the research called, and I made it private on MySpace. Do you remember MySpace? Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I wrote an article, or
I
like
got this fellowship because of MySpace.
You're joking.
Not even kidding.
All right, well, let me finish this point, and then we'll have to hear about MySpace.
Look, the MySpace live stream is coming up next. Let's finish this right now.
I did a post that was private called "A Boy Named Charlie," and I just like I went back to all those old Watchtower articles, and I read them. I was like, wow, they were really, like, it point blank said 1914 was the end of the world. And from there, it just kind of spiraled. Like, I ended up on jwfacts.com. I started being apostate when I needed justification for why I could never go into a Kingdom Hall again to my parents. So I had this notebook full of facts. I mean, it was extensive. I was going to leave the notebook for my parents, but then, I don't know, something happened. So I said, all right, well, I'll make a video. And like, I made a video and I started to lay out all these things, and I was intending on sending it to mom and dad, and that's when the apostasy started.
That's how it all started.
That's how it all
I mean,
started.
I get it though, because it's like so much more like when you can see someone's body language and hear their tone of voice, like you can really feel like their personal connection
Right.
to something. So like I
You
get
can
it.
choose to not read something, but when your son is messaging you for the first time in a couple years with a video clip of him talking, it's a little
Right.
bit harder to just, turn that off.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people will watch videos in the secrecy of their own room or their own
Oh
house
yeah. That's how we all got out, right?
way quicker than they will read an entire article by an apostate. That's how I feel
So
anyway.
You know, Parker. You want to know something funny?
What's up?
This was what 2.5, 3 years ago, and I'm not going to name names or relations here, but I had I had heard about you by somebody who I know who is a JW, whom you used to be friends with growing up, perhaps.
Lance Garner.
And it,
Lance Garner.
I wasn't gonna name names.
Lance Garner.
Where they had showed me a video of you, crashing shit, talking about the anointed and who should partake. And I had heard about you years ago, and it's funny that here we are now.
I'm gonna steal Zeb's line and
really is
say,
funny.
yeah, you might not know this, but I'm pretty famous.
And
You have no idea. On November 5th, like everybody walked into Chili's, because we're all ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, so
We go to Chili's.
why'd you
And,
walk
like,
into Chili's for? How hard of times are you guys on?
Ryan, choose your next
You
words
guys
very
are having
carefully
what?
because I love
I'm
Chili's.
assuming that you guys got mudslides and 2 for 20 dinners.
2 for 20 dinners.
But in walks Joel and Parker and Rebecca, and it was like we're not worthy.
Oh,
It was just
stop.
ridiculous. Neil was there, Zeb was there. No, it totally was. Like everybody's heroes were in the same room.
All right. Well,
Look,
we're not
No,
gonna
hold
digress
on,
into
hold
hero
on,
worship
hold
here.
on.
This is not
Yes,
happening.
I get the idol worship, but I knew Parker when he was a little freaking teen. Okay? When he was a little baba with the little pink cheeks and the little tiny hair on the top of his head.
Yeah, she saw a picture of me from back then and was like, "Oh, there's the Parker I remember."
Yeah, that's who I remember.
Oh, I was such a what?
Now he was like so shy too.
I was a
back
geek,
then.
man.
Like he didn't even like speak. Like it was just kind of like hi from the other side.
Well,
of the
I
room.
didn't speak to you because you were disfellowshipped all the time. I swear to God.
Yeah,
I wasn't then.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh
I'm
my God.
kidding. I'm
And
kidding.
now-
I didn't talk to
now-
Parker at all when we were all there at the protest.
No.
I hardly saw Parker. He had his followers.
Fast forward 8 years, and now Parker is #woke AF. He is woke as fuck right now.
I
And he
did
knows
go a
it's
little
not.
overboard. All right, guys. Actually, I do have to wrap this thing up, but I think I've covered everything. I know. I'm sorry, but it's like really
We
late.
talked about MySpace and how Justin Timberlake.
Well, I had it. It's on the list of things to talk about, but we'll save it for another night. Thank you so much, everybody. You guys were phenomenal. It was a really great discussion, and I really feel like this cult is coming down hard. Anything? Want to say something really quick to wrap this up?
Yeah, if you're living a double life like most of the people I've seen, just fucking leave. It doesn't matter because Luna's uncle, actually her cousin technically, told me this. There is no point in why are you trying to beg people to love you who don't care about you. Yeah, you may be out of friends, but you know what? If they're going to hate you because you leave, they're not your friends anyway. So those aren't the people that you need. I see way too many people living a double life. Just go out and live your life. We have no idea where you go when you're done. So just get the fuck out and just do whatever you got to do and enjoy your life.
Well said. I couldn't have wrapped that up any better. Thanks, guys.
He's a soldier for it though. Like it takes a lot of people to have that. It takes a certain type of person to have that kind of bravery. But I'm just gonna put my email address out there for anybody who's like thinking about leaving. It's mother.of.whispers@gmail.com. If you want to just chat, I'm not gonna push you to leave or anything, but I'll at least be there for you, like through all of the emotional crap. My industry is psychology, so if you just have anything you just want to talk about, just email me. We could chat.
Well, they all want to know about MySpace at this point, so.
What you need to know about MySpace means that I'm old as fuck.
Yeah, same.
Just
Not
follow
Hashtag
as old,
same.
Maggie, that's all I know.
And Maggie, to you, what I wanted to say was I'd love to chat with you further because the first time I left, yes, the first time I left was because I was also being abused by a husband and couldn't get any help because I didn't have another witness to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to chat with you further and just kind of like, I don't know, shoot the shit.
Let's do it. I love it.
She's good at that. She is. Thank you so much, guys.
In my closing comment,
Oh, yes.
I want to say, if this doesn't wake you up, I don't know what will. In the documents on 62905, it says, for the protection of our children, a man known to be a child molester does not qualify for a responsible position in the congregation. That's the bottom line.
Bottom line.
So they don't care. They're
Wow.
not going to tell you that there's one sitting next to your children at the Kingdom Hall.
They're
So I'm
not.
going to leave everybody with that. If you are searching, that there should be no other proof that's needed. That's a written document from the society.
Yep.
So if you guys need help, you can email any of us,
Yeah.
and we'll be there for you guys.
Yep, there's potentially a pedophile sitting next to your kid at the Kingdom Hall. So, yeah, it's time to jump ship, definitely. Guys, thank you.
Black Sheep, the Unwitnessed, is asking for the channel names on the panel, and I think probably I'm the only one that isn't known, right? 'Cause, like,
Yeah,
Ryan doesn't have one.
Luna, Mother of Whispers,
Yeah.
is her channel name. We got, Maggie is the Apostate Family, once again. There was one last thing, guys. One last
I feel like I should
thing.
create one. I don't have one.
Yeah, what are you doing, Ryan? What are you doing with your
Darn.
life, man? You should have a, by now you should have one.
I'm too busy keeping it real.
Too busy keeping it real.
Too much of my day is blocked off.
100%.
Too much of my day is blocked off kicking it. So I don't have time for blogs.
There is a big announcement, though. The protest in London, or in the UK, there's a convention that they're going to be protesting, and it finally has a date. And I believe it's August 12th?
I would do anything to be able to be there. Oh my god,
Me
that is
too.
so freaking amazing.
I'm hoping I can be there. We'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely, guys. You need to. I'll post a link to. They've got a Facebook page now for that protest. Check it out. Check out the dates. See if there's any possibility you can be there. Definitely make an attempt to. If not, I'm sure eventually there'll be a GoFundMe or some sort of way that you can show your support for the whole thing. Thank you, guys. Fateful Slave, I'm out. You're brilliant. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.